back to Manchester United last night. Andy Mitten from United We Stand, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
This seems extremely positive for Manchester United at the moment. It is extremely positive for Manchester United, there's no seeming about it. But there does seem to be a little tinge of caution about how Manchester United fans, about how the squad and the management are speaking about it at the moment. Is that caution well-founded? Is there still a possibility for a downturn to happen before the really good times roll back to Old Trafford once again?
I think there's right to be caution. Manchester United are fifth in the table, and the lockdown, it had been a pretty poor season. There was an improvement in form since the defeat to Burnley in January, a month where Manchester United lost 4 times. And there were some pretty bleak moments this season. United dropped as low as 14th before a game against Liverpool in October. And the mood was pretty vicious. You know, I interviewed Ed Woodward, the main executive of the club. And while readers of United We Stand appreciated me grilling him, a lot of online United fans were absolutely furious that I'd even spoken to him because he hadn't signed the players that they wanted to sign. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did make his first signings at the start of the season. They've all done well. Okay, Dan James is one who's gone a little bit off the boil, but I think people back Solskjaer's judgment when it comes to signing players, and he's working incredibly hard to bring the players in for next season. And I do think that the team needs strengthening. And I spoke to the manager just before the lockdown about this, and he said we still need 2 or 3 players. And there are probably 2 or 3 players who the team need to get rid of because they earn too much money, don't really contribute a lot. But yeah, back to your original point, it's incredibly exciting. Villa Park last night, yeah, it was freezing for July in Birmingham. But once again, Manchester United won, kept another clean sheet and scored 3 more goals. A very young forward line, Mason Greenwood, 18, Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial. And behind them, you've got Paul Pogba, back fit, happy, playing well, striking the ball across the field like no other player can do, not even Bruno Fernandes. And Fernandes has been the main reason why Manchester United's upturn has come since January. United have picked up 24 points in 10 games since he's arrived in the league. United can still win the FA Cup, still win the Europa League. And for all of these reasons, there is a swirl of optimism around Manchester United's fan base. Yes, Liverpool have won the league, but United were never in the race for that, and we're never going to be. And even for next season, I would have said it's pretty improbable. But the more I watch this Manchester United team, and yes, they're only beating teams lower down in the table at the moment, but they've beaten Manchester City 3 times this season. They've actually played well against Liverpool. But I still think there needs to be a couple of new signings.
Are they, Andy, that notwithstanding the fact that Liverpool have obviously won the league, given the talent that's coming through, the younger players, the form of Pogba, Fernandes, like the list goes on and on and on. Are United at this exact moment the best and most exciting team in the Premier League?
Yeah, they are, but they're also 5th in the league. And Liverpool are the current English, European and world champions. Let's get the facts right. You know, Manchester United, if the season ends now, will be 5th. They're on an upward trajectory, and it looks like a 4th place finish is on the cards, although Chelsea are winning, Leicester have fallen away. Wolves, who were a team a couple of weeks ago I really feared, they're now 6 points, I think, behind Manchester United. But there's a buzz. I mean, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing really well, and he got quite a lot of criticism for good reason earlier on in the season. By the start of December, Manchester United had won 4 of their opening 12 matches in the league. That's nowhere near good enough. And I told him this. I put it to him this year. The criticism was justified. A lot of it, though, was pretty pernicious. And it quite amuses me now that people who were putting a hashtag out, Ollie out, they've gone completely quiet. And I remember going to Kristiansund, his hometown, at the end of September and speaking to his best friends and doing the type of journalism which I like to do. And I tweeted it. I said I'm in Kristiansund, and the stream of negative comments I might start retweeting them if Manchester United win a trophy this season, because it was, he won't last until Christmas, he'll be back there soon, he's completely out of his depth. And these comments were from supposed Manchester United fans. Well, I'm sorry, he's proving them wrong, because the team not only is winning games, but playing really good football, attacking football. United are devastating on the counter-attack. They're really quick, they're young players. He's given a pathway to players from the youth system, like Mason Greenwood. Marcus Rashford's had a very good season. He's not fully clicked back into form, but while the lockdown was on, he showed what a good human he is. And when I interviewed Ole Gunnar during the lockdown, and I spoke to him for 90 minutes, he gave that line, he'd rather have a hole in his team than an asshole. And that I think is evident. He got rid of the players who he didn't think contributed good things to Manchester United's dressing room, and there's still one or two who he'd like to move on. But it's all pointing towards the right direction. What Manchester United need to do this season is get in the Champions League for next season, because it'd be wonderful watching someone like Mason Greenwood or Fernandes against the best teams in the world. Ideally, win the FA Cup, which is going to be difficult because there's good teams left in it. Win the Europa League, and this season could then be judged as a success. If they don't reach the Champions League, don't win the FA Cup, don't win the Europa League, then it'd be much harder to judge it as a success, and that's largely because it started so poorly.
You mentioned Mason Greenwood there, Andy. Of all the kids you've seen come through the ranks into the Old Trafford first team, where does this guy rank? I mean, the last time we had hype like this is Marcus Rashford, but it even seems that the hype is equivalent to Wayne Rooney at this point.
Yeah, Rooney was incredible, wasn't he? He was incredible at Everton, and he cost, I think, £30 million, and it's not quite as exciting as somebody who comes through your own youth system. Wayne Rooney looked like the complete footballer while he was still a teenager. Mason Greenwood is doing incredibly well, and I've spoken to everybody who works with him each day, and they say that he can get better and better. Obviously, he's 18 years old, but he's got to have the right influences as well. He's got to train, he's got to work hard, he's got to have a stable environment, which is very important to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and creating that environment at Carrington. But he's doing that. He's now a first-team starter for Manchester United, and you couldn't have really said that 4 or 5 months ago. Dan James was the person who was playing on the right for Manchester United. The right was seen as the problem position. That's why Jadon Sancho was linked to Manchester United and still is. It's why Manchester United have been looking at players in that position. I wrote a piece last week about a young right winger at Peñarol, 18 years old. They're managed by Diego Forlan. And Solskjaer is doing detailed backgrounds on these type of players. And they might not all sign. Of course they won't all sign. But the fact that they're doing it, I think, shows a progress from a situation where Angel Di Maria came, Radamel Falcao came. Do I think the Manchester United managers at that time did months of research into them? Or do I think that an agent called up and said, would you be interested in signing Falcao? I think it was the latter. And along with Bastian Schweinsteiger and other big-name players, such as Alexis Sanchez, it just didn't work out. But what Solskjaer is doing now, it is working out, because it is all about results. The team are winning, but they're playing really good football as well. And I think one reason Manchester United have this global following is because traditionally and historically, they've been renowned for good attacking football. And we're seeing it again now, and about time too.
When it comes to the summer acquisitions, was last night something of an audition for Jack Grealish?
Yeah, I heard that said. I don't think he's good enough to get in the team. At the moment, I don't think he had a good game. He had a really good game at Old Trafford in November in a 2-2 draw. And a lot of United fans were citing him as the type of player the team is missing. All action, draws players towards him, creates space around him. Has obviously got a goal in him. But I didn't think he had a good game last night at Villa Park. I think it was difficult for any Villa player because United was so devastating, A, in possession, and B, when they countered. I'm not sure if he was 100% fit. I think Jack Grealish is a very good player, but I would be surprised if he came to to Manchester United because there's good players being left out at the moment. Fred is coming on off the bench. Scott McTominay is coming off the bench, and they are more defensive than Jack Grealish. Everyone has a price, don't they? If Aston Villa go down, then Jack Grealish's price is going to drop considerably. And there's also a new economic reality in football. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer touched on that last week. I don't think you're going to see the ridiculous transfer fees that we've seen in the last couple of seasons because clubs have been burning through money with having A, no games and B, no fans of games.
The thing with that as well, Andy, is it true that Manchester United will perhaps be more insulated from the financial wreck that is going to be bestowed upon football over the next little while? They are, of course, going to lose money, but perhaps they will lose less money, relatively speaking, than other football clubs around Europe. Potentially, they might be on a pedestal when it comes to splashing the cash this summer in a way that, say, Liverpool will not be able to do. As you say, the Jadon Sancho links are still out there. They're not going anywhere. You had a ridiculous report from Argentina last weekend that Manchester United are in the market for Lionel Messi this summer. They're still being talked about in terms of splashing big money this summer, that they might get the benefit of a little bit more insulation than other clubs.
Yeah, they will do because commercially the club have been successful for a long time and they've still got those commercial deals on top of the television deals. And the gate receipts are going to be down, but the club have been really good in refunding season ticket holders. They've been good throughout the whole pandemic, and that's not something I've always been able to say about Manchester United's public relations. And so, the best of a bad bunch financially, if you like. But I think there's even uncertainty at Manchester United because the club don't know when fans are going to be allowed back into the stadium. It does United's brand, if you like, no harm at all when the team are playing as they are playing. Liverpool have really improved commercially. They're the second biggest club in England and a long way ahead of the rest. And if you look in terms of global support, Manchester United and Liverpool are absolutely massive. Liverpool have been quite smart. They took a long time to develop Anfield, but they have done it. They're continuing to do it. They're doing the Anfield Road end as well. And Liverpool are the team to be beaten at the moment. But Liverpool are not the type of team who go out and spend the type of money that Dortmund would want for Jadon Sancho. They tend to operate in a bracket below that. And Jurgen Klopp's such a good manager that he improves those players. But Solskjaer goes for the young English if possible, but he will look globally for players. I do think United will make signings, but you're not going to see a splurge. Bruno Fernandes's budget came out of the summer budget, and it will help United's position if there is a taker for Alexis Sanchez, if Chris Smalling has had a really good season at Roma goes, if Phil Jones is sold. He's a Premier League standard player. There's no reason why someone shouldn't buy him. Same for Jesse Lingard. He's fallen completely out of favour with Manchester United fans, but could Jesse Lingard do a good job for, Southampton or Everton or West Ham? I think he could, playing football every week with his confidence up. This is a player who played in a World Cup semi-final 2 years ago. So would someone pay £15 million for him? They should do, but at the moment that comment looks stupid because he's not been playing. He earns a lot of money. Marcus Rojo earns a lot of money. So best case scenario is for Manchester United to move these players on, and then I'm going to fall into tabloid cliche here, say bolstering their war chest in terms of bringing someone in like Sancho over the summer, because the first 11 looks really strong at the moment, and even certain areas of the team on the bench look really strong, like central midfield. But it's still a couple of players short. And Odio Nigolo, really good loan signing. He is only a loan signing, so he still needs those 2 or 3 players, because Manchester United have not put a serious title challenge in since Sir Alex Ferguson left the club, and that's disgraceful for a club of Manchester United's size. Okay, the team and fans were spoilt by success up until 2013, but it's still the club with the biggest wage bill in the Premier League, second biggest in world football behind Barcelona. And to be 5th and so far behind Liverpool showed the underperformance of this season.
Andy, just finally and briefly for me, the performance of Paul Pogba last night, very good again last night, and been very good obviously since the return. Part of that extremely effective midfield, very good when he spoke after the game about the work rate. Like, his stock is high now, so either United decide that he is a long-term part of the club and that his attitude is right and his work rate is good, and that that's good enough for them now, or they take the opposite view that his stock couldn't get any higher and it might be a good time to sell him. What do you think happens with Paul Pogba now?
I don't think the stock market for footballers is that high, and there's a queue of Real Madrid's offering 150 million euros for somebody like Paul Pogba. I love watching him play football when he's fit. I loved some of his passes across the field last night at Villa Park. He looks happy, he looks fit. He's had a bad season because he's not been playing. And from his perspective, the dream which he was sold in 2016 when he came to Manchester United never materialised. But it's starting to now. He wants to play with world-class players. Bruno Fernandes is looking like one. If Paul Pogba is not excited about the emergence of Mason Greenwood or the improvement in Anthony Martial, someone who really looks up to Paul Pogba, then he shouldn't be on a football field. But he is. He's playing well. I think he will stay at Manchester United, and I'm happy about that. I think his professionalism has never been doubted. When I've spoke to him, he's always been completely polite. But there is another side to the story. When his agent and him have suggested that they want to leave the club, that's not a good situation because he's such an important person in the dressing room. It's very difficult for the manager when his most influential player in the dressing room wants to leave. But he's got a good relationship with Paul Pogba. Ollie's never spoken ill of him publicly. But there's a bit of an iron fist with Ollie as well when he needs to be with his players. And it's all coming together. And wins just smooth over everything. If the team would have lost the last 5 matches, we wouldn't be talking like we are today.
Andy Mitten, good stuff.
Thank you.